Who I am does not matter. I'm just here to tell you a story. A true one, that is. This story isn't about having fun in the park on a nice sunny afternoon. It's about a house. A house that I'd love to forget about, but remains engraved in my memories until the day I die. And trust me, that might be sooner than later. You can call me John, for I fear telling you my real name. The last thing I want is people Googling me and finding the soon to be created and published articles of my death, which I know is coming. My twisted story starts 3 months ago. Some friends and I had decided to rent an old house in France to spend the holidays. Let's call them Dave and Elizabeth to make things easy. I was 22 back then. After browsing some sites, we found this place of which I even dread writing down the name. As if the ink could come to life and crawl up my skin, consuming me until nothing remains of me but a black, lifeless mess. After some discussing, we all agreed on this place. It was a lot cheaper than other smaller places in the surrounding area. But we just didn't have the live experience to properly think this through. Flash forward to 2 months later. After a 12-hour drive, we finally arrived at the home. I drove most of the night, so the first thing I wanted to do upon arriving was to check out the interior of the house and just get some sleep before dinner. After all, we were excited because this was our first foreign trip without any parents around. The landlord had sent a text earlier, letting us know he had a very busy schedule that day and the key to the house was hidden underneath a flower pot next to the front door. I'll come by tomorrow to make sure everything's alright. Enjoy your stay. That was the last thing he wrote. Of course, he never stopped by. I didn't think much of it. I remember comparable situations from when I used to spend the holidays with my parents. Writing this down, I wish I was still that kid, playing with his toys by the pool, while mom's reading a book and dad, slightly frustrated, tries to light the barbecue for the fourth time. God, I'm an idiot. A house that cheap? Why didn't we raise any red flags when we couldn't find any reviews about the place? Then again, how could we have known? The first thing I noticed about the house was the big 1934 engraved in stone above the heavy front door. The house looked normal. It was just a regular old house in France, like the countless others, with old furniture, old rooms, and old stories, I bet. The three of us carefully explored. It's like opening a Christmas gift from a relative. You kind of know what to expect, but the thrill just gets you somehow. The house had three bedrooms, a bathroom, a small pool, and a cozy terrace. I could already tell the three of us would spend a lot of time there, talking about irrelevant yet intriguing subjects while slowly getting drunk. There was one room, however, that was different from the rest: the kitchen. The counters were covered in a thin layer of dust, and some of the kitchen cabinets were opened. Maybe the landlord didn't have time to clean everything, with that busy schedule of his? Elizabeth jokingly mentioned while striking a finger over the dusty counter. It's fine, I said. We can clean the kitchen before dinner. I looked to my right and saw Dave, his eyes fixated on a single spot on the floor, right before an open cabinet. There was a handprint on the floor. A female's, by the look of it. It looks like this landlord might have to hire a new maid, Dave said while closely investigating the print. It just didn't make sense to me. Why would a maid just leave the kitchen dirty and risk losing her job? Maybe she knew we were about to arrive and didn't want to be seen? While I was lost in thoughts, Dave and Elizabeth had already gone outside to check the pool. I closed the cabinets, and right before joining my two friends outside, I swear I heard a faint single tap coming from inside one of the cabinets. I shrugged it off and blamed my lack of sleep. The first couple of days went by, and nothing worth mentioning happened besides that every morning at least one of the kitchen cabinets had opened. Elizabeth and I both blamed Dave, who was known for his bad humor and his even worse pranks he pulled on people. He once got arrested for throwing a bunch of firecrackers inside a retirement home. So, of course, we didn't believe Dave when he kept persisting he didn't leave those cabinets open. The weird thing about the kitchen compared to all the other rooms was the dust. Always present, even shortly after cleaning. On the fifth night of our holiday, I got awakened by the sound of glass shattering. Still a little drunk from the abundant drinking of that evening, I stumbled out of bed and turned the lights on. I could tell by the way my eyes reacted to the light that I had been sleeping for a while. I held my breath as I tried to listen for Dave or Elizabeth, but didn't hear anything. They must have been too drunk and slept right through the noise. I quickly got pulled out of my thoughts by a very particular noise. It was the tapping I had heard just a couple of days earlier when we had arrived and checked out the mess in the kitchen. The same noise I swear I had imagined. Tap, 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 almost in a certain rhythm, calling me. I made my way over to the kitchen as quietly as I could. This was my moment to catch Dave red-handed. He had told us he'd buy us 5 bottles of red wine if we caught him opening the kitchen cabinets at night, still persisting he wasn't the culprit. I sneaked down the stairs. The tapping seemed to grow louder and more aggressive the closer I got to its source. I reached my arm around the corner and searched for the light switch. If I was going to catch Dave, I might as well scare the hell out of him, right? I flicked the switch and jumped around the corner, ready to see Dave's face, as we all know he screams like a girl when someone scares him. Nothing. There was no one in the kitchen besides me and the tapping inside the kitchen cabinet. The tapping had lost all of its rhythm and had now become irregular, aggressive, and almost desperate, like someone that tries to Morse a secret message when kept hostage, similar to those action movies we all know. I slowly moved towards the cabinet door, and for a moment it almost seemed like the tapping grew louder the closer I got, turning into knocking. With a fast pull, I opened the door. The tapping stopped, like it was never there. Am I dreaming? Am I simply too drunk to properly comprehend what's happening? No. The adrenaline made me feel as if I never had a drop of alcohol to begin with. I chuckled and closed the cabinet, but as soon as I did, every other cabinet in the kitchen swung open with a loud bang. I screamed and watched in agony as footprints started to form in the dust on the cold kitchen floor. It was almost as if an invisible source was walking towards me, starting from the very corner I was standing earlier. In such a situation, people always see themselves as heroes, defeating evil and saving their friends. I froze. I could only watch as the footprints appeared in dust and got closer to me. I was sure I was going to die, or get possessed by some evil spirit and kill my friends as you read in those creepypastas people post online. I got pulled out of my fear-induced paralysis as soon as I heard footsteps coming down the stairs. Elizabeth came running down, and by the sound of her footsteps, I could tell she was scared. John, where are you? Something strange is going on upstairs, all the closet doors. She froze when she saw me, standing in the kitchen like a child that had just lost his mom in the mall. She observed the kitchen, the open cabinets, the shattered glass on the floor. When she finally saw the footprints, I saw tears well up in her beautiful auburn eyes. As it turns out, all of the doors in the house had opened. From the kitchen cabinets to the dresser drawers, from the bathroom door to the blinds on the bedroom windows. Somehow Dave slept through it all. I'm I'm happy for him. He didn't have to witness this horrific event. The fear of death approaching one step at a time. He won't be scarred for the rest of his life like Elizabeth and I are. It's needless to say, we got out of that house the next morning, telling the landlord there had been an emergency and we had to go home. We didn't want a refund. He could keep his money and his old, cursed house, filled with demons and evil spirits. I don't care. This all happened 3 weeks ago. I'm back in my apartment, writing this down with tears in my eyes. Not because I'm still traumatized by the events that took place in France, but because 2 days ago at night I started to hear a soft tapping noise coming from my bedroom closet. When I wake up in the morning, the door is wide open. I'm starting to see a small spot on the inside of the closet door, as if someone spent hours and hours softly tapping on the exact same spot. And the dust. So much dust. In the 20 minutes I spent writing down my story, the tapping has grown louder and more aggressive, beckoning me to come closer.